And we are live. Gen morning, everyone. I hope everyone has a wonderful day. I'm just cross-checking if we are really live on X. Sometimes the technology bugs us, as Ivan and I have just discovered, but we are live, so that's amazing. Welcome to this special Inside GenLayer update ecosystem edition for validators and builders. My name is Tony. I'm the head of content and community for GenLayer. And today with us, we have Ivan, who is the head of ecosystem for the GenLayer Foundation. Hi, Ivan.
Hi Tony. Hi, everyone. How are you?
Well, I am great. I hope everyone else is great as well. Sunny weather here today. I think that people are actually very interested in what how many validators, what's happening, what's going on with the dApps, and I would like to jump straight into that topic. But I also know that people are very interested in GenLayer POAPs. So we've decided that today, since we didn't have a live stream last week, we are going to have double the POAP amount to be minted. So this time we will have 600 POAPs. That's kind of a specialty today. So you have double the chance to get a POAP. You have the chance to ask Ivan all of your questions. A few of you that I recognize from the AMA you had regarding validators, builders. Heartfelt welcome to every one of you guys here joining. I see a few names that I see every Monday on the AMAs, so that's amazing. Before we start, short recap of what is GenLayer. GenLayer is trust infrastructure for the AI age, an AI distributed ledger and digital decision maker. And without further ado, Ivan, I would like to give the word to you. There has been a lot of development at the foundation. Maybe you can give us an update of, we announced Testnet Asimov. Where do we stand right now, right? We are going into Testnet Bradbury. What's happening? What's important? Why is it important to onboard these validators and builders to build decentralized applications on GenLayer?
Yeah, well, let me start in the beginning. So
Sure.
2 months ago, we started with Testnet Asimov. Testnet Asimov is a testnet where we are testing and developing our node code and all the consensus and appeals mechanism that we have in GenLayer. We started with phase 1, with which we started 6 validators from GenLayer Labs and 1 validator that we run from the foundation. That phase was mostly to have something running and to see that everything was working according to specs. And then we started phase 2, where we onboard the validators that had invested in GenLayer. And now we are currently finishing phase 3, where we have onboarded the validators that applied early to the testnet before the announcement. Since the announcement, we have more than 200 validators in a waiting list. Some of them are indie validators, but most of them are professional validators in the kind of validators we are currently focusing, that have millions or even billions in staking for different networks, and they are active in testnets and in mainnets, and they have proven contributions for the ecosystem. Currently, we have, apart from labs and foundation, that we have many validators running. We have 24 active validators, 5 in the last week. We did a really big push after FCC. And now we have 17 more validators onboarded that are currently, most of them are currently syncing. Syncing means when you start participating in the consensus, in the validation of a new blockchain, you need to learn and process all the history that has been, all the transactions that have been taking place since the beginning. So it takes several days for the validators to catch up. And we have these 17 validators that have been on board and have been syncing for a few days. And every day we have new validators that tell me, hey, I'm synced, please add me to the active validator set. Because Gen layer in the mainnet is going to be permissionless. Anyone can run a validator, but during testnet Asimov and also testnet Bradbury, which we will cover in a few moments, it's permissioned. We decide which validator we want running on the testnet, because we have many talks with them where we discuss, for example, technical stuff. For example, last week we discussed metrics, like what do we need to, each validator needs to know that how it's working, okay? If it's processing transactions correctly, how many transactions did it process, how much CPU or memory it's being used. So we create an endpoint with metrics, and that's the kind of relationship we have with the validators right now, mostly in the technical side. Yeah.
One question. I know that there's a lot to discover here and to explain. Can you explain what the idea is? Like, first of all, the explanation of why do we need to test like very, very intensely, and why do we at least need 2 or 3 test nets, is why the whole consensus mechanism is something completely new. DPoS, delegated proof of stake, as you mentioned, Ivan, which is permissioned at the very beginning, which I will ask you a question in like a minute. Just to finish my thought is, in these kind of systems, you could as well just create a new blockchain with a classic proof of stake consensus mechanism. But then obviously, because you have these specialties in Gen layer where you have LLMs connected that can process natural language, that can agree on subjective or non-deterministic questions, you actually need to test it to be sure that once you get to mainnet, nothing is failing, right? Like it's very innovative. Whenever you're working with innovative technology, you get a test because you don't know, right? In theory, everything sounds amazing, but then when you actually plug into and you're a validator who even sometimes has a lot of experience, they're probably going to get lost, right? Because it's something completely new. But it looks very good. Ivan, question mark. First question. Second question, can you explain why we need like permission to permissionless? Why do we even need to move to permissionless at some point? Like what's the distribution and the distinguishing part here?
So, as you know, Tony, everything starts with an idea. First of all, there was the Gen layer founders, the Gen layer Labs founders that were talking about how to bring trustless decisions on chain and how we could incorporate LLMs and, like you said, non-deterministic and subjective ideas on chain that previously was completely deterministic. Deterministic means that you get the same output for every input every time. With LLMs, as you know, where you use ChatGPT or different chatbots, you talk to them and you don't always get the same answer. Yeah. So this is what our consensus solves. We have a consortium of different validators, each running its own LLM. They can decide which LLM to run. They agree on an answer for each of these blocks. So if I ask a question to the LLMs or create an oracle or different use cases, they agree. So at first, GenLayer had a white paper. You can read it, in the genlayer.com website. And from that white paper, you start developing and you start coding everything. So the way GenLayer started was with a studio. You can go to studio.genlayer.com, and there you can create contracts and deploy those contracts. But those contracts are deployed in a DevNet that is run by the studio. This means that it's only one computer processing everything, and it simulates different validators. Once you go on chain for a blockchain, you need to decentralize everything, so it's permissionless and trustless, and anyone can participate. And this means not simulating, but actually coding all this node code that agrees, that different validators agree with each other, and they send messages, and that's something that is very low level. So the way we do this is we are inviting like the best validators to be design partners. They're not only running the validators, but we are constantly talking about, hey, is this okay for you? This is working, this is not working. it's not only bugs, but we need to decide many things, and we haven't developed everything. Otherwise, we'd be like close to mainnet like next week. We are constantly implementing new stuff, like you said, the staking system. This is something that we're currently working on. Like a month ago, we had no staking. It's like everyone had 0 Gen tokens, and everyone was running. So that's why it's permissioned. Connecting with the second question, we have a whitelist where we say, hey, this is the validators that are going to be selected at random for the consensus. Okay? And as time goes by, we develop more and more things that we have in our roadmap that are needed for a truly decentralized implementation and go to mainnet. Also, there's once we have everything coded, this is not the case. We are advancing really, really fast. Actually, we are keeping on track with our roadmap. We're very happy about that. But
I'm pretty sure one of the next questions is going to be, what does the roadmap look like? So Ivan is talking about the roadmap for Foundation, more or less. You guys know that, GenLayer is completely open source. You can find everything on GitHub, so you can follow the developments. We announce all of the partnerships. We're actually going to spotlight a few validators that Ivan is working with every day. And two things, because I see Burgomister has a lot of amazing questions today. So I don't have my Gen Cap with me because my Gen Cap looks exactly like this one. Ivan has a limited edition, though. That's what I have to say. My Gen Cap looks exactly like this one. And when I left Berlin, so I'm currently in Austria, when I left Berlin, I got the wrong one. So I got this one instead of the one with the GenLayer logo. So I have to get, either back to Berlin or get a new one shipped to where I am currently. But yeah, sorry, Burgo. I know I'm a huge disappointment. I don't have a Gen Cap. I'm going to have one the next time for sure. Next question is from Burgo as well. So if anyone has questions, please shoot them in the chat. That's our standard procedure. Feel free to ask anytime. How many validators are needed for a stable GenLayer network?
Okay. So for this, I can tell you a number. I'm going to tell you a number, but let me explain how we arrived at that number. We have a
concept. Well, theoretically, you could only have one, right? Like if you just want to run with one,
of course, but that's not very
database. Yeah.
That's not very interesting because you're only having like one response from one LLM, and you don't know which LLM it is because validators can run whatever they want. This all comes from I'm going to talk a little bit about math, but I'm going to do it like as simple as possible. Let's say we are a group of people, okay, deciding on something, and we need to vote to see if something is correct or not. We need to decide to tell each response. If each of us is more likely than unlikely to have a correct answer, let's say 50% of the times, more than 50% of the times I have a correct answer. As we are more people, the majority vote is going to be the correct answer. Okay, that's a theorem called Condorcet-Shuri theorem. That's the base for the GenLayer consensus. And it states that if you have more people, the chances, the confidence that you have the correct answer is very, very high, close to 100%. Specifically, if you are talking about people, if they're independent, that's a mathematical term that one does not depend on each other. They agree, they reach their decision completely independently. When you have like 27 people, you have 99.999 confidence that you have the correct answer. Okay, so close to 100%. But in our case, we have a few things. First of all, LLMs are not independent because all LLMs have been trained in the whole data set of the internet. So they arrive sometimes at the same conclusion because they have learned the same way. All of them have learned the same way. It's not the same if you find students from the same high school, from the same class, or you have students from all over the world from every school in the world. So theoretically, with 27 validators, it would be enough. But after some theorems and simulations, we have run many simulations to decide on different numbers and constants from GenLayer. We decided to go with 1,000 validators. It doesn't matter which validator, which LLM they are running, or if they're good or not so good. with 1,000 validators, if the LLMs are more likely than unlikely to produce a correct answer, with 1,000 validators, we have a very, very high confidence that the answer is correct. We start with 5, but you can appeal, and an appeal means duplicating the amount of validators in the decision making. And you can appeal several times. The first time it's 5, then you go to 11 validators, and so on until after the 7th appeal, you go to 1,000 validators. That's more expensive, but the confidence that you have the correct answer, it's much, much higher. I hope this was understandable.
Yeah, it is. It is. I think that was very concise. It's probably like I always have this analogy with a court system, this metaphor where you're like, you have multiple judges, and would you want, you are alleged for some crime, whatever. Would you want that one judge decides how many years you're going to go to jail? Well, no, you would, if this judge has a decision, you would probably want to appeal this decision and get it to 5 or 10 people, 10 judges, who would then decide, in this independent manner of how long you got to go to jail. It's a very negative example. Like, no one wants to go to jail, right? But I think everyone knows like how a court system works, and that you have more, validators / judges in this system. I don't know if you know that top of your head, Ivan, what is the most chosen LLM by validators? I think it's still GPT, right?
No. So we have partnered with different companies like Urist, Ionet, and Compute3, which are LLM providers on chain. They are offering free credits for the validators during testnet. Okay, and we actually have a few more partnerships down the line that we're going to announce in the next node versions. These provide open source models, okay, like Llama, Quen, and these kind of models that anyone can run, that are open weights that you can run in your own hardware, okay? So we are currently using these validators, these LLMs. But each validator is free to run their own LLM in their own GPUs. GPUs is like where you run models, LLM models. You use one of these inference providers that we have partnered with, or you can use OpenAI or Anthropic by having an API key and paying them for inference. But for now, we are using all LLM models. The idea behind GenLayer is not to be the most intelligent decision maker, but to be the most unbiased, neutral, and resilient to attacks. Okay, so as LLMs get more intelligent, GenLayer gets more intelligent. But validators need to upgrade the models as time goes by. And you know that we are seeing new models every day. For example, yesterday, OpenAI released their first open weights model. So for sure, in the upcoming week, our partners are going to include ChatGPT open source into their offerings, and some validators are gonna choose them. But all the AI, we're leaving that for the next testnet, Bradbury. Right now in Asimov, we are focusing on structural things like our consensus, appeals, staking, security, and stability. And in Bradbury, we'll be focusing on AI with real contracts, real projects that are using right now GenLayer, that are building their solutions on top of GenLayer, and we'll be testing how well the models perform. We're gonna do some benchmarks, and also something interesting that now we're talking about LLMs is that a validator doesn't need to use the same LLM for every contract, for every transaction. Let's say you are a validator and you're processing a contract 1 million times a day. You have lots of inputs and outputs after the consensus, which were the correct responses. And there's this thing called fine-tuning or distilling, that you can get a much smaller model, much more efficient model, but train it in a specific data set. In this case, all the outputs of a contract. So this validator can earn much more rewards and have much more correct answers with a smaller model. So this is something, an implementation optimization they can do. On the other side of the coin, if you are chosen to be part of this of the seventh appeal of a contract of these 1,000 validators, and you want to be sure that you are producing the correct answer, because you get a reward if you agree with the majority, you get penalized if you disagree with the majority. So in that case, you would want to use the biggest model available, like the most powerful model you have available. So each validator can choose which LLM to use in different cases.
Okay, thanks, Ivan. I think the question, how much would 7 appeals cost? I don't know if you have cost calculations. It's going to be probably like, if you calculate whatever, like $1 for the transaction, then you have AI model costs, right? Like everything associated to that. Maybe you can break that down, Ivan. Like, what is the cost of an appeal? What is associated with that? Obviously, you have the cost of having inference, like the prompt on the routing it to GPT or to any other model, Llama, whatever you're using. Maybe you can break down the cost and display like why it makes sense for validators to optimize for cost and performance.
Yeah. So the answer is, it depends. It's not the same if you're asking an LLM to who's going to win, who won the next football match between Barcelona or Real Madrid. That's something really, really simple that LLMs can respond, like via web search, like browsing the internet and responding. That's going to be really cheap. We are talking about cents, less than $1, okay? But if you are analyzing images or videos, the prices can go up very, very, very quickly, okay? So for some of the contracts that we have tried, it's between $5 and $15 to run 1,000 validators, but it depends on the contract. If it's something simple, you're asking the LLMs, or you're asking them to think and browse the internet, do what they now is called deep thinking, that's much more expensive. But to give an estimate that you can run in the studio, you can run just one contract with only the reader, no validators, and you can see how many time units, that's our initial cost unit, time units, how much time is the LLM running, okay? And from that, you can estimate amount of tokens, input and output tokens. Okay, it's not the same if you, like I told you, the football match example, than if you give it the whole Bible to the LLM to ask a question. You need to read the whole Bible and then find the answer there. So with these time units, what we do is we calculate how much the LLM inference costs. Let's say it costs $1 or 1 cent. Then the gas you need in gen layer for that validator is going to be 60 to 100 times the cost of the inference. This is because we want validators to always be running LLMs. We have a simulator, it's actually online. I can share the link afterwards. The idea is that we don't want any lazy validator and a validator saying agree to everything. We want validators to actually running LLMs, and with this incentive, that's going to be from 60 to 100x the cost of the inference. They are incentivized to always run LLMs and not to be lazy. That's the idea behind it. So if you know that running it for you, it's going to cost you 1 cent, running it 1 cent is a lot. Nowadays, with 1 cent, you can do lots of things. But let's say it costs you, it's a really difficult problem you are trying to solve. It costs 1 cent. It's going to cost, let's say, $1 for the gas for that validator. Now you have to multiply that for 5. It's going to be $5, and to 1,000 if you are appealing 7 times. Because what you are paying is not for inference, but for trustless inference, and many models and many validators agreeing, a consortium of validators agreeing on an answer. That's much more costly.
So the 15 to 15 USD is for the full validator set, right? 1,000 validators.
Yeah,
that's a lot. Like you
but the
won't
idea
have
is,
that most.
Yeah, but let me talk about some ideas we have in the future. We created all these numbers. For example, the beginning is going to be 5 validators, and the one who executes the transaction only puts the gas for 5 validators. If anyone in the network can appeal, but if someone wants to appeal, they need to put the gas for the rest of the validators. But they're only going to appeal because they think that the answer is incorrect. Okay. So one of the things that we want it's open for grants. We can touch that point later as well.
Yeah.
The idea is to have different users listening to everything, all the transactions that are happening in the network, and with AI, like machine learning, saying, okay, this transaction might be incorrect, and then executing a powerful model, just paying for the inference of one model that's going to be really cheap. So you can do this many times for different models. And if the response is incorrect, appeal. You would pay the bond for the appeal, and if you win the appeal, you're going to get a big reward. Okay. So the idea is to have some different actors listening in the whole network and say, hey, we should double check this. We should double check this. We should appeal there, appeal here, appeal there. Those are like automatic kinds of appeals. Of course, if you're a human, you can go and in your app, you can go and click, hey, I want to appeal because I don't agree with this answer. But
it's and if you have stake in there, it's probably like maximum extractable value. As in Ethereum, you can just like, kind of spice it up and just make a lot of money with just being a spy, looking at transactions, and then just,
exactly.
appealing.
Well, but that's actually better for them and better for the network, because the performance, the correctness of the answers are going to go up with a less amount of money. You don't need to do 1,000 validators at the beginning, because someone's listening with the most powerful model that's available. And it's going to say, hey, we should appeal here because I want to earn money. So it's win-win for everyone. And that's actually by design. The idea behind these appeals is that it's cheaper. It's cheap to do most of the calculations, but in the cases that you need, you can go deeper. And
okay, Ivan. Let's see. The next question is from S33DKN33, also a very valued community member. What risk are you seeing so far for the testnet Asimov? Maybe we can broaden this question a bit. What risks do you see for testnet Asimov, and what have been the biggest challenges in validator onboarding so far?
Okay, risks. I don't think about risks. I think about testing different things. We have different phases for testnet Asimov and for testnet Bradbury, and they're like control risks. This is something that is being doing in a controlled environment with design partners. We choose which validators, so no one is attacking us. We are learning. The idea is that we are learning how many transactions can we handle, how many sequencers, something technical, do we need, how many nodes can we run in each sequencer. So we're actually learning. This is not someone attacking us. Later on, when we're close to mainnet, we are going to both be subjects to compliance and audits and security audits, and we're going to invite the community to try to attack us. Okay, we are going to have like a bug bounty program, security program, where if you find a vulnerability, you're going to get a really big reward. So it's not about risk. I'm sorry, the second question was?
What the biggest challenges in validator onboarding right now are?
We don't have a big challenge. We have a very long list of very good validators, but sometimes when we upgrade the node, we have a problem in the consensus, and we need to figure out why is this bug or this problem happening, just to find out the root cause so we can fix that. And that twice already, we had to pause the onboarding to figure out what was the error and then fix it before continuing onboarding. So that's one of the biggest challenges. And the other challenge is that we are creating a personal relationship with each validator. Okay, it's not just like a completely automated process. We are actually talking and say, hey, how can you contribute to the ecosystem? What are your expertise? That takes a while to create this relationship. So what we have thought for the future is a project called Deep Thought DAO, that the idea is to create a DAO plus AI that fixes several of the problems that current DAOs or all DAOs had in the past with AI. And part of that is replacing the foundation itself. That's our goal. Like 4 or 5 years, we want to replace the foundation with AI. So we are actually learning about each onboarding, like paying attention, really careful to this process and how we interact with the validators. So in the future, the AI can do it. And the idea is to automatize part of the onboarding. We are automatizing everything that we can, but then leave this human aspect one-to-one always with every validator.
Yeah. You should update your X bio. You should be like building AI to replace myself. That would be an idea.
I like that. Yeah.
Okay. We also have a question from Vatan, who is also a very, very active community member. Are you satisfied with the current results and have any weaknesses or areas for improvement emerged? I think part of the question you answered already. Yeah, are you happy? Are you happy with the current results?
I'm very happy because we are on track, and that's the most important thing. Of course, what I told you when we had these bugs, they are expected. So they are embedded into the roadmaps. Like stuff can happen, and in software, we have bugs because they are really complex systems. And areas for improvements, we are currently working on better documentation, and we just open sourced our documentation a few weeks ago. So we are asking the validators to help us improve it as well. And also, we are about to launch a new forum, a discourse forum. It's more technical, where we want the validators and the builders to participate, just to discuss each update, each node upgrade always brings new complications for the validators, because as we have more and more validators, each running different hardware, each have different processes, they install the node in different ways, different best practices. Yeah. So we are learning, and
there's no standard.
Yeah, exactly. We are like improving this in a very diverse set of validators, different time zones. So we are currently using Discord for all the communication. All the validators have access to special private channels where we discuss everything, but Discord is not so good for discoverability, to search previous issues. So we're gonna deploy a new system for that.
That's cool. Okay, the next question is related to the grants program builders. I know that there's been a few questions in the community as well. So let's kick it off with random. For the grants update, you need to be experienced in your field as well, right? Maybe before you answer this question, Ivan, just could you repeat in a few lines what the grants program is, what it's designed for, and who currently applied or is applying to build something? What have you seen so far? And I'm pretty sure along the way we will get a few more questions.
Yeah, so the grants program is designed to be able for the foundation to work side by side with the builders to build tools, infrastructure, projects, experiments, benchmarks, try out new ideas on top of GenLayer. So what we do, actually, we are revamping a little bit our grants program because we've seen a huge success with the validators. We are running an incentivized testnet where we assign points and we track every contribution, and we have received really, really good feedback from the validators. So we are creating a builders points system inside our grants program, where anyone can participate in different quests, do like a tutorial, write blog posts about GenLayer, create experiments, share their ideas and their developments. Yeah. And we created this point system because it's much more flexible than doing big grants. We still keep the grants program for specific projects that we are very interested, but for the broader community, we're doing this build. We are actually coding it right now to expand our validator and testnet point system to have both validators points and builders points. And with these builder points, the idea is that you know that everything that we are doing is we're keeping track, and every contribution or idea, test, whatever content creation that we are doing is being recorded by us.
Sorry for the interruption, Ivan. Just to make it clear for everyone who's listening here, the validator and builder points have nothing to do with your community points you're gathering on Discord, right? Like that's completely different. For those of you who are community members in our Discord, you know how it works. For those of you who don't, you know, like you have quests, content quests as well, meme quests. You have different games where you can earn XP that will lead to rewards in the future. But that has nothing to do with the content creation for validators or whatsoever. If you are in the Discord community as a member and as a validator or builder, you can actually earn both. Like you could be as an individual, you can earn points in XP rewards in our Discord. As a validator, you could also contribute with your company's account, creating content and earning points for the validator program. Just to make that very clear.
Yeah, the idea is that the audience is different. For our builder point system, the idea is to have builders, people who know how to code, how to use AI tools to code at least, and create apps and protocols on top of GenLayer or infrastructure as well.
Yeah,
I mean, we have a little bit for everyone.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay, cool.
So to answer random questions, you need to be experienced building stuff. So if you know how to code, how to build stuff, it's really easy to get started with our builders points. We're about to launch next week or the week after once we finish it. But we're already keeping track of every contribution. So if you have any doubt, just send me a DM in X and I'll be glad to discuss it.
Amazing. So if you know any developers who are interested in building blockchain applications with Python, that makes it actually very easy to use, hit us up, hit Ivan up, tag him on Discord. He's going to be happy to answer your questions. Okay. One question that we got a few times is, well, actually someone is asking where Ivan got that beautiful hat. It was a limited edition for the hackathon that Ivan is also going to share some information now before we unplug from the live stream. So there's been this question of, you know, what will the community members will be able to use with Testnet Bradbury. So maybe you can give an update on that. Like, how did the hackathon go? Where do you see tendencies? Maybe you can share a little bit about the developers, what they're building, and what are we looking at? Give us something to look forward to, Ivan.
Yeah, okay. Around 10 days ago, we hosted our first in-person hackathon in Barcelona, where it was a private hackathon and we invited mostly friends. We were 4 from the GenLayer Labs and GenLayer Foundation. And we invited friends that are CTOs or CEOs of really big companies. So we had an amazing audience and builders. We had 11 devs that joined together in 5 different teams, and they created some amazing things, way beyond our expectations. One of those teams, I cannot talk about the project because they're actually decided they're going to continue building it so they can release a new protocol. But the other ones were pretty diverse. Some of them were focused on security, like making a contest for prompt injection discovery for LLMs. Another one was building a mini game system where anyone can contribute AI games. And this was like the platform, like kind of a Mario Party or something like that, where you can play with your friends several mini games. Then we have something we call Debate DAO, that is like a project where different people and AI can discuss different arguments to try to reach an answer or something on something that has an open-ended question. They created an MVP where you pay and you bet on different outcomes. So we also have some games and art, like living organisms created by LLM. So it was really, really interesting. And the idea is we learned a lot about what we need to be, so GenLayer is a little bit more self-service, and we are not, so you don't need us to be just beside you, helping you with different issues. So we have a backlog of things that we're gonna fix in August, and then expect virtual hackathons and in-person hackathons in the next big crypto events that GenLayer will be attending.
That's pretty cool, and I'm definitely looking forward.
And we created these are limited editions just for the people that attended the hackathon.
That's pretty cool. I don't even have the limited edition, and I usually have all the merch. So I'm probably gonna have to gather some POAPs and eventually show up at a hackathon or go the extra mile to get these limited edition caps. I am Groot is asking, what mechanisms are in place to make the validator selection and grant allocation process transparent and resistant to favoritism during the Asimov testnet? What do you say?
This is a really good question, because I wanted to touch this.
Yeah.
So what we are actually building with the testnet, with the point system for the validators, we are building this. So this is an ongoing project. This is not finished. The idea is that if you, for example, create a technical blog post and you submit it to the point system, to have a GenLayer intelligent contract read this blog post, check if it's original, if it's a copy, and how aligned it is with the goals of GenLayer, and then unbiasedly assign the appropriate amount of points. Okay, so we are talking with other foundations that are really interested in this as well, because we all know if there's humans involved, it's not transparent. So that's the way we are looking forward in the near future to be doing things. For now, we are assigning points manually. We let the validators submit their contributions, their evidence, like an URL, a file, or text, and then we transparently assign points, and everyone in the program can see everything. Everything is open source, and everything is transparent, and you can go to the points.GenLayer Foundation and then check there every contribution, how many amount of points. So everyone knows everything that's happening. And regarding grants, well, the builder programs, the builder points is going to be the same way. Like you do this builder journey, you start earning points while you learn about GenLayer and how to write your own contracts. And more specifically in the grants, I come from an AI background more than crypto. And one of the projects that we did, we actually, through that project, I got connected to Albert, the CEO of GenLayer Labs, and I met David, the CEO of the GenLayer Foundation, with whom we co-founded the foundation. We created a VC, a venture capitalist, completely automated by AI. So you would pitch your startup to this AI, to this VC, and it would decide to invest or not. That's actually running, and we are transforming all that code. We have the IP. The idea is to launch DeepThought DAO, this project I told you about, that the idea is to replace us. So the idea is to instead not only completing a form, but you would pitch your grant proposal to an AI, and the AI will analyze it with the pros, cons, how will it help the ecosystem, and will be completely transparent and unbiased by AI. Okay, so that's the goal. These things are pretty state of the art, like bleeding edge tech, and what the model can do right now. So lots of research and lots of experiments and developing going that way. And the idea is to have lots of foundations using the things that we are building or that we are incubating inside the GenLayer Foundation.
Okay, Ivan, I've just in parallel shared this QR code. Most of you who are in the community already know this process. We had mint links before, which sometimes led to fraudulent, to abuse. Fraud would be a bit too much, to abuse of those links. Now you can scan with or without the POAP home app this QR code, and with the QR code you can mint your POAP. Don't fret, because sometimes, as a lot of people are trying to mint the POAP, you have to refresh your page or scan the QR code. Just try it 2 or 3 times. If it doesn't work, but it should definitely work. Now you can see how many are minted. And I promised you double the amount of POAPs this time. So after this allocation is gone, I'm also going to share a secret passkey. So for that, you have to open the POAP Home app, and then you can type in the secret passkey. While people are minting, Ivan, there is one last question that I wanted to pull up, which was from WannaCry KJan. If the Asimov testnet is running, can people who are not experts in nodes still use GenLayer's testnet? Well, it's multifaceted, this question. As a user or as a validator, maybe you can address both, Ivan.
Yeah, so right now you can participate in the testnet because it's open and it's in the internet, but there's not much value to obtain because we are still ironing out several details. And during testnet Asimov, we are not using the most powerful LLMs. So yes, you can do it, but expect downtime because we are doing several tests in this testnet where we are stress testing the testnet, like how many transactions it can handle with the amount of validators that we have, and it's not gonna work all the time. And also every few weeks or months, when we have a big update, we delete all the data. So you might lose stuff if you are actually working with the testnet. So yes, the answer is technically yes, but it doesn't make much sense. We are, for the projects that are using GenLayer in production currently, we deploy devnets just for them, so they know it's going to be stable and the data is going to be there. They know what to expect.
That's amazing. Thanks for answering the question. I see that we have 260 almost POAPs minted. I'm also going to share the POAP secret passkey. If you've minted here, you don't have to mint the secret passkey because it's the same collection. So you won't be able to mint with the passkey if you've already minted with the QR code. The secret passkey is POAPs minus R minus hot. So POAPs minus R minus hot. For those of you who have been around, you know it, how it works. I'm also going to pin it here to the screen. And actually, this wasn't the last question, Ivan. There was one more question.
Okay, let's go.
There was one more question, which is more on the fun side. How to grow a beauty beard like you do?
I mean, genes, I don't know. You're lucky. Well,
work for GenLayer, then it just starts to grow by itself.
Yeah.
You get old and then it starts to grow. We're old, like that's just what comes with age.
Well, I actually have my beard, since I was 16, 17. Everyone told
me.
Oh,
yeah, really?
Yeah.
No, it took a few more years for me. I think like 22, 23, something like that. Very late.
I was
anyway,
one of the first ones. And then I don't like shaving, so
yeah.
I do maintain it, but yeah, shaving is not good for my skin.
Yeah, totally get that. Okay, Ivan, where do we point if people are interested in participating in the validator program for grants? Where can they explore, find out more information? Where should they go?
Yeah, for the testnet, you can go to genlayer.com/testnet. You can also go to genlayer.com and you will see the link there. If you're interested in running a validator, even if you're a professional company or if you're an indie validator, you should apply. We're going to have you in the waiting list, and eventually when we think it's open for indie developers, indie validators, we're going to open it. But you should definitely apply. And for the grants program, like I said before, you can DM me, or you can go, if it's more a structured grant, you can go to genlayer.foundation, and there you will see our grants program page where there's a link to a form that you can complete. And in a few days from now, we're going to have the builders program, the builders points. That's going to be much easier to do small contributions. And so you don't have to come up with a big project, set milestones. So it's going to give us much more flexibility and make the process much more dynamic.
That's pretty cool. I've also pinned, I can just see there should be a space between Testnet and developer grants. So for Testnet and Validators information, it's genlayer.com/testnet. And for developer grants, it's genlayer.foundation. There you can find the link. Amazing. Yeah, I think that's it. You gave us a pretty good update of what's happening in the Genlayer ecosystem, Ivan. Thank you very much. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Any last words, Ivan?
I'm very happy to be here. Thank you, Tony. And waiting for the next one.
Amazing. See you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.